Right, Blues fans. Afternoon after a 1-0 defeat to Bristol City Ashton Gate. It was a very same old story that I'm sure a lot of you guys are getting pretty tired of at this point. Lots of possession, lots of side to side, out to the full-back, back to the centre half, into the six, back out again. Playing nice football, but it's non-threatening. It's all bark, no bite, and it's probably some of the easiest 3 points that Bristol City are going to get this season, because and now I was just thinking really before we put the camera on that there's probably got to be questions asked now about, do the players that we have really fit the style that we're trying to play, that is data driven to get you to the top flight? And I'm starting to question that. I'm sure some of you already have, and obviously the management itself, and not just talking Chris Davis here, I'm talking higher up than that. Obviously we saw in the open house earlier this week about, Tom Wagner backing Chris Davis, and I'm not saying about putting Chris Davis out, although I'm sure that's probably been entertained, but it is the same old story. We go away at Deepdale on Tuesday night and we pick up 3 points by being resilient and not actually having much of the ball. And on that subject, I just want to mention this point. Out of the 11 out of the 15 points that we have got this season have come from games where we've had 60% possession or less. Now that tells you a lot, and you can stick that in the data, because that tells you that when we don't have much of the ball, we're actually picking up points where we should be picking up points. And today was just another backup of the fact that when we do have most of the ball, we're not doing enough with it in the right areas, and we're very easy to read, and that's why it was easy for Bristol City to take the points today. And they really didn't have to do a lot, did they, Dan?
No, they didn't. And you mentioned Deepdale there from the game on Tuesday at Preston North End. It was day and night in comparison to today's game at Bristol City Ashton Gate.
Yeah.
And it just shows that obviously not only do we see it as fans when we see the team play and the type of football we're playing, but also it's based on the data. And as a data-driven manager as Chris Davis is, surely he's got to see this.
Yeah.
That when we've got less of the ball, we're doing better in games in terms of results and picking up points.
Yeah.
It's day and night comparison. Yeah. It makes you wonder, what really is the objective here? Is the objective to play the style of football that Chris Davis wants to play, where it's high possession based, a lot of side to side, or are we picking up points?
Yeah.
I would like to think it was obvious and it was the latter, but it's starting to not look like that now.
Yeah.
You're staring games in the face where we're 1-0 down, or we're level, or we're not really bringing anything into it in terms of shots on goal. I think we had something like 15 shots on goal today, and 1 on target.
Yeah, 14 shots, 1 on target to Bristol City's 5 and 1 on target. And just to go into the game a little bit itself as well, obviously we've touched on a little bit of the background stuff here that probably just shows our frustration, as well as some of you guys, I'm sure, for this season so far. But their goal itself obviously was against the run of play. Yes, we did have a lot of the ball. In moments we did look quite threatening. It might be something, cause a bit of chaos in there, but nothing came of it. Pate loses the ball high up. He's got options left and right after he's drove into some space in the middle of the park, and he's passed it to Iwata, who's got 3 players around him, gets taken off him, 1 ball down the line. If Bristol City fans are watching, you'll have to excuse me, that the guy who scored for you,
Armstrong,
that's it, Sinclair Armstrong, I think
it was,
yeah. Beat Phil Neumann in a foot race, and then just opened his body up and slotted it past Beadle.
Yeah. I said to you, didn't I, as soon as the goal went in? I messaged you, didn't I, because
yeah.
I wasn't available to see the game today. I would say it was only really yourself and Dad who were able to watch it today. But yeah, it just goes to show that in those moments that you're having these opportunities at goal, it's that clinical approach and that quality that's making the difference.
Yeah.
We're not doing that.
No.
It's not like at times we're not getting to that point because we're having shots on goal.
Yeah.
We seem to have fixed one problem, having shots on goal, with a handful on target, more so at Preston North End than there was today at Bristol City. Mm-hmm. But we're still not clinical enough. We're not that quality. And again, I think that leads into what you were saying, Joe. Have we really got the quality to carry this forward as a team? Is this the team that's going to be challenging from promotion to going into the Premier League?
Yeah.
I don't think necessarily Davis maybe is the wrong man. I'd still like to really hope that he is the right man. But as you say, maybe there are some calls for Davis's head to roll now at this point. But
Yeah.
publicly, Wagner's always going to support him, isn't he? And I think it's professional for an owner to do that.
Yeah.
I think maybe, the lots of Nottingham Forest owners need to be taking notes on things like that,
maybe,
really, to be honest. But it's each to their own at the end of the day.
No, I mean,
but it's a results-driven business.
Exactly that. That's exactly the point that you got to have to hit home. And it's all well and good putting this data of this and that about teams that have gone up in the past because they're possession-based teams.
Yeah.
Well, that's clearly not us at the minute.
No, it's not.
Because we're 12 games in and we've lost 5, we won 4 and drawn 3. And in games where we should be getting a point, and realistically, for me, if we're playing to our strengths, we beat Bristol City today.
Yeah, we do.
We really do. But we just shoot ourselves in the foot. And, we had some stray passes here and there that didn't quite come off. But the general style of play, obviously, I'm starting to at least think that we just actually don't have the players for it. But we do have players who have got pace. We do have players that with good technical ability. I mean, just to name off a few today, Patrick Roberts for me was man of the match. He didn't play the entire game. We get the ball out wide. He looked to cut inside and really carve teams open, and he's done that in the past, and he did that, today in some great moments. I thought Stano again today, substitution-wise, just thinking about because he bought Stano off a straight shot for Kyogo. I thought the subs were. I kind of understand in that last 20, putting on Lyndon Dykes and Marvin Dutch to get some height in there and put the balls in the box. We were too slow to do that. We would play it across the line and we weren't getting crosses into the box early or quick enough. The urgency wasn't really there. So maybe questions a little bit to be asked about the subs today. But just when we did, have the ball where we probably could have been a bit more incisive with our passes, we just didn't do it. We were too slow. And as we've just mentioned, it is the same old story. And I think we've got the players there in obviously, we're talking about the possession. But in games where we've had less than 60%, where we've got points, I think that's how we should be playing, similar to how we did on Tuesday night, particularly away. At home, you'd probably expect to dominate the ball, wouldn't you? And
you would,
make
really.
more of it.
You would. Most teams do in this division, to be fair.
And I think that's why we do well at home, because obviously you've got 27,000 Blues fans backing you up. But when we go away from home, I think we need to be the team that is happy to give the ball up. We've got players on the break that you've got pace, and we've got technical players, and I think we've got somebody who's a bagsman as well.
Yeah, of course we have.
And that's what we should be doing to play our strength. But it is the same old story, isn't it? Really?
It is. I think the story of today is frustration, isn't it? Really,
Massive,
because we showed in midweek at Deepdale that we can do it away from home.
Yeah.
Like you say, we're happy to not have the ball. We're breaking on possession with pace, as it were, and we actually managed to score from a set piece.
Yeah.
So it shows that we can do it, but it's almost like we're choosing not to do it. We're almost choosing to style of play over results and getting shots in on goal and actually making it count away from home. I mean, going into today's game, don't get me wrong, Bristol City have got results where it matters. They're not on an amazing side, but at the end of the day, they are in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I would have been happy with a draw today at Ashton Gate.
I would absolutely take
I would have taken that.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because it was there for the taking. And it's not like Bristol City worked particularly hard for even the result that they got today.
No.
At the end of the day, they made it count. Don't get me wrong; they were clinical, like we've talked about. For the goal, Armstrong took the chance when it got to him, and we didn't.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like teams,
isn't it?
Teams do that against us. You literally only need one chance against us, and if you put it away, you can just sit. And we're not going to score. We're not going to hurt you, and that's the most frustrating part. And
it is.
I do just want to mention, just thinking about it in the game today. It might seem a bit inconsequential, but I do want to mention it nonetheless. Did anybody else think Mehmeti should have been sent off for that little to Iwata's face? Because they had a bit of a scuffle off the ball. And this was like the 70th minute or something like that. And Mehmeti has raised his hand and smacked Iwata. But the ref had his fucking back turned, as per, talking to somebody else. The lino's, I don't know, looking down at his dick. And the fourth official's somewhere else. I don't know what's going on. And no one sees it. For me, he's got to go. If you've raised your hand and you've hit someone in the face, that's a red card. Not to be sour grapes about it, but that's the fucking rules. If that happens, it changes the game. Yeah. And that's, I compartmentalise that and put that to the side. Obviously, the main issue is the way we're playing and the fact that we're not being effective when we do have the ball. But I just wanted to mention that on the back of it. So
yeah, it's one of them. I think one of them. Even though, like you say, it'd be nice to have the game applied by the rules as which are set out by the officials. But at the end of the day, even though it does potentially come across like sour grapes, like you say, Joe, at the end of the day, we tricked and size Higginbottom on Tuesday. At Deepdale for making the same assumption. I don't know whether Davis has most of it is post-match reaction, as it were. But correct me if I'm wrong now. We're 6 points away from the playoffs and only 5 points away from the relegation places.
It's similar either way. I think it might be 4 off the playoffs, and it might be the other way around. But either way, we're basically like just below mid-table.
We're basically a lower mid-table team now.
Yeah, which is ironically that's what I would say that we are.
Yeah,
obviously we are because the results are a reflection of that. But obviously it's the same old story again. Obviously, Blues fans, let us know what you think in the comments below of today's performance, and just in general as well about our style of play and the fact that we're finding it hard to just pick up points when we're doing that. You know, what really is the effective way for Blues to play with the players that we've got? You know, I don't want to go too much into about the recruitment stuff. We'll go into that probably more in detail when we do an actual podcast episode, which we're recording on Monday in a couple of days' time. But it's one of them again where, you know, the old man was just saying to me, he couldn't make it in today's video, by the way, he's not very well, but he was just saying that, you know, we do that on Tuesday night where we can be effective at a possession, and when we do have it, we are effective, and then we go and do that today, and it just shoots ourselves in the foot, and we can go ahead and get 3 points against Portsmouth next week when we're at home. And that's great, but like the problem is still there. I thought we'd learned, to be honest, back on the back of Tuesday, but it's the same story.
It is.
We just come back to
same story,
wanting to control the ball and not really doing a lot with it. And that's today's one of the most frustrating games and results for me up to this point, because like I say, I thought we learned, but we just went back to the drawing board again, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. And like I said, we'll talk about it more in depth when we record the podcast in a couple of days' time on Monday. All to be released Tuesday, all being well.
Yeah.
Hopefully, old man will be back with us and he'll be well enough by then.
Yeah.
All being well. So, but Blues fans, as Joe said in the comments section, let us know what you thought on today's game. Yeah. Are we playing the right way, or do we need to be where when we were at Deepdale on Tuesday? Yeah. Me personally, I think it's the latter rather than the former. But let us know in the comment section what you think, and please join us again for the podcast in the week.
Yeah, probably release. So we'll record on the Monday and probably release Wednesday or Thursday when it's something like that.
Yeah.
So we'll obviously touch on this game today, but
we'll preview
Portsmouth as well. Which obviously, don't get me wrong, I'm hoping that we're going to go back to St Andrews at United Park, pick up 3 points, and we can go from there. And then we got Millwall Tuesday night following that.
Yeah.
But frustrating, very frustrating today. So yeah, as Dan says, just let us know, guys, what you think in the comments. But we'll catch you guys be Wednesday or Thursday next week. So yep, until then, keep right on, and we will see you all very soon.
Keep right on.
Peace out.